A new age of handhold war has begun. But will the peace ever come back? This is a cow's opinion. We look at the latest, greatest, and today, most unexpected news in the gaming industry. And today, from Andy Robinson here on Video Games Chronicle, is the acknowledgement that not just one, but two people want the Nintendo handheld crowned. Because, first of all, Sony has been planning a new PlayStation handheld, and the newest PSP is in early stages of development. Now, they want a portable console capable of PlayStation 5 games, which is interesting, and I don't know how the battery life and the money are going to be. But according to Bloomberg, Sony Interactive Entertainment is in the early stages, which is still years away from a potential release. So that means this may not ever happen. They're just looking into it. They're putting serious money and stuff into it, but it's not like this has to come. So the product is aimed at expanding Sony's reach and contending with Nintendo for the portable gaming market, according to everyone familiar with the development. Now, this is probably because of the PlayStation Portal, the kind of pseudo-portable console. It could stream PS5 games from the PS5, but it cannot natively play the title. You cannot be too far from your console. You can't take it and go like you can a Switch. Now, it was great for like a second screen in case kids or a spouse are going to be on your TV. It's also great for, cozy games where you just want to relax and lay down on the couch. But it was disappointing to a lot of Sony fans that it couldn't do what they were hoping it could do. Now, this is meant to compete, of course, with the upcoming Switch 2, which new rumors suggest could come out as early as March, but I don't think that's true. But also, apparently, a third contender has approached because now Microsoft wants to potentially launch an Xbox device. So earlier this month, Phil Spencer, Xbox boss, which is kind of a cool thing to put on your resume, confirmed that Microsoft is working on handheld gaming prototypes, but again, the device is years away. Now, they're working on the prototypes and considering what it might do, and they are trying to develop its vision based on what they learn as they're trying to analyze the market. Now, in the near term, Xbox also wants to focus on its app, making it better on existing portable devices, because, you can stream Xbox games to, like, phones and tablets now. And they also want to partner with hardware manufacturers to make sure their products sync. So, what is a cow's opinion on this? Well, look, I understand that with the runaway success of the Switch, and probably the Switch 2, Sony and Microsoft are seeing a massive portion of the market dominated by a competitor. And listen, I get it. Everyone thought that because of gacha games and handheld games and smartphones, that the portable market was kind of dead. I mean, the Nintendo DS came out and the 3DS came out, and Nintendo was chugging along with their handhelds. The Sony PlayStation Portals and the Vita, they did best in Japan, and they were doing all right internationally. There were some problems with battery life, with the fact that you had to have huge download files, or else you had to have a spinning disc. There's a reason why the Switch uses physical cartridges still. Any portable gaming device that tries to use a disc that has to spin, it's not potentially a never solved problem. It's a potentially expensive problem to solve. How do I keep the disc spinning correctly when I'm moving the console with my hands, or worse yet, if I'm walking or riding on a bus or a train that is in constant movement and sending vibrations that are making the disc skip? So then they had like memory sticks and stuff, but they took up a lot of space on a lot of games, and the battery life wasn't the best on a lot of the portable PlayStation stuff. So when gacha games, when cell phone gaming, when smartphone gaming came to Japan, it crushed the PlayStation portable market, the Vita market, and that was just the end of it, because it was doing the best there, and when that market fell apart, there was just, not only was it doing worse everywhere else too, but there was no financial incentive for Sony to continue. And Microsoft has never seriously tried to be in the handheld market before, and even they admit that this time they're making prototypes and analyzing, like, well, what can we do? What can we possibly bring? And so I get it, but the thing is that these guys are years away, and Switch 2 is possibly coming as early as next year sometimes. Probably not as early as spring, but fall, winter of next year, definitely in time for your Christmas needs. I mean, Santa's going to be carrying a lot of Switch 2s. The cow's going to try to get one as soon as he possibly can, guys. Don't, so that I can play those beautiful Switch games. But, don't be surprised if it takes me a while to get my hands on it. I'm not a big streamer. It's just whatever my local game store and or Best Buy wants to give me, they will give me. And if there's a launch title that I actually want to play for the channel. So, yeah, there's a lot of money because, again, as I said, Microsoft's never done it. And then Sony has got crushed the last generation they tried. And everyone's like, well, that's it for portable gaming from a big hardware manufacturer. And no, here comes the Switch, which is brilliantly designed as both a hardware console and a portable console, depending upon your need. And people just loved it. And they took it places. They had Switch parties. They had all kinds of fun stuff. So the other two of the big three are looking at that and realizing that a lot of money's being left on the table. And if there's one thing corporations hate, it's leaving money on the table, guys. They want that money in their pockets, not on your table. So they see this, and Nintendo is just... I honestly think that Nintendo has been producing the best titles this generation. No, they're not the most graphically impressive because of hardware limitations. Doesn't matter. The Nintendo games are some of the most fun. Third-party games, indie games, and retro gaming are back on a huge way on your Switch. People love it. So many people I've talked to. I'm playing Dragon Quest on Steam because I'm doing it for the channel, but so many people are playing Dragon Quest on Switch because you can put it on a big screen, and then you can take it to go with you, and you can quest wherever you want, and that's wonderful. So, look, this is something we will keep an eye on. We got some comments here. I think we've got enough time to look at a couple of them. Logging yourself into a Sony handheld no longer makes sense in 2024 when you can get a Windows handheld instead, where you have exponentially more games and far lower prices. It makes zero sense for tech-savvy folks, but considering how well the Switch is doing, its entire premise that it is plug-and-play and so easy to use, kids can use it, makes it no issue. That's the market Sony wants. Frank is right, but Flying Cake is right too. It's going to be hard. No point in owning a closed platform handheld anymore. There's so much you could do and play with emulators on a Steam Deck. Remember, Steam has a portable console too. It's going to be a very crowded market. The handheld will launch after PS6, but is limited to PS5 in downgraded quality. Basically, it does what the Portal does, but natively. What's the point of a new handheld limited to last-gen games? That's an important point to make. And Microsoft might need a different approach, but basically a next-gen Steam Deck would be great. It's got to play PS4 games. It can't be its own ecosystem. Don't get 5 gamers in order to be able to run this. I'm wary about this. Sony's behavior with their handheld units led to a polarization between portable, mobile, and TV-based consoles, with software between them not being compatible. They offered a dialed-in Vita TV and PlayStation phone, but they never fully committed to support. Also, their forced use of overpriced proprietary external memory and, at the time, lack of compatibility with media files like MP4 drove people away. The current shenanigans via the Portal only seem to validate my concerns, with Sony ignorant or arrogantly overcharging for a device that lacks most of the basic features from public experts from a portable mobile device. As such, I'll be very surprised if Sony actually delivers a compelling portable device that's competitive with the existing Windows, Linux, and Android devices alongside Switch. Primal Convoy makes a lot of sense. As someone who took my Vita to work today to play some Liberty City Stories and PS4, this is great news. For 30 years, the idea of, like the popular Nintendo thing, but more power at the cost of everything else, might finally have been overruled with the establishment of the Steam Deck. Yeah, remember, Sony was really pushing the power and the hardware, but things like ease of use, ease for developers to make, supporting things like MP4 files, making it to where you can use it, they were only concerned with selling their own stuff, and you're not going to be able to sell hardware that way. Any device like this is incredibly far away. I would be surprised if it came out in the next 3 years. I'm not kidding. Current handhelds won't reach Series S performance for a couple of years. PS5, Series X, a lot further than that. It's far away if you want 4K 60 FPS on the go, but 1080p is plenty if I have decent battery life. Probably a lot of people would agree with that. They do not have performance profiles for games to do that. Xbox has Series X, which does target that, but you can't magically tell a PS5 or Series X to just run 1080p without heavy patching input. Yeah, it's not It's not that easy. If you make the game a certain way, you can't just magically run on something new. Since it's years out, I don't really care much for it. It's in the research stage. The Steam Deck and the Switch have the market sewn up, and there's no room for another Vita, quite possibly which would. Being a device that plays PS5 games would make the most sense. You don't have to build up a separate ecosystem on the storefront, and everyone's PS4 and PS5 would work on that. They didn't say anything about PS4, I want to point that out. It's not quite that easy to just snap your fingers and emulate. But it could reach a whole new audience, he is right. This is prime time to get back into handheld space and do what they did for PS4 coming from 3. This could be a success. They have the Steam Deck to contend with. Nintendo games cannot be played anywhere else, so people don't have an option besides buying their console. So hopefully Sony gives us banger exclusives. If my reading of this is correct, the device is planned to play PS5, so it will have access to the catalog of titles a PS5 could play. This would be a near impossible task within the next decade. Matter of fact, having hardware that rivals the PS4 be near impossible. These machines have quite powerful GPUs and require a ton of power. Yeah, consoles are easier to develop than handhelds because you don't have to have like power limitations, hardware limitations. I don't need to carry a TV-sized gaming console. To be able to play PS5 games using the same package would be a miracle. I assume the play PS5 games was more cloud streamings. I don't see any mention of the plans to play PS5 games coming directly from any source. This article doesn't mention that, as the idea of playing PS5 games directly didn't come from the people that they talked to but the article's author, so I'm a lot more hesitant to believe this is a plan. And look, that's basically it. People are like, look, Sony could give us some really great titles, but is it going to be able to play my PS5 and PS4 games, like my Nintendo Switch can play a bunch of older Nintendo consoles on it? What kind of power and battery life can I expect? How portable are we talking? Is it going to weigh 10 pounds? There's a lot of questions that they can't answer right now. But guys, let me know in the comments, if Microsoft or Sony were to make a handheld, would you be interested? What game would you want that you cannot get on a Nintendo console? What else are you looking for on this Thanksgiving weekend? And you know what else you can do? You know what else you can always do? You can play more games! Because games are awesome. More options for handhelds are awesome, but I don't know if it's possible based on the stuff they're looking at. They're all experimental, but you deserve awesome. We'll see you next time. I mean, the Portal was such a disappointment for a lot of people. I don't know if Sony's got it in them to make it right.